this particular administration is going to maybe over-communicate, and you might not like what they have to say, but they want to project that level of leadership and the fact that and showing that they're in charge.
Welcome to the Debrief with the Washington Examiner. I'm Tianna Lowe Dosecher, and I'm here with one of our editors, Chris Irvine.
Hey.
Chris, Donald Trump, about 2 weeks into his second term in office, faces his first massive crisis here in the nation's capital. On Wednesday night, you had an American Airlines routine shuttle flight between Wichita and DCA. As it was landing in this airport that is, as you and I both know, a couple subway stops away from the White House, a military Black Hawk helicopter crashed into it. And right now, our reporting shows that all the authorities expect 0 survivors at this point. They're just looking at bodies and trying to figure out what happened. How is Trump navigating this crisis so far?
So we're talking on Thursday. By the time this video comes out, the story may have changed quite a lot, so that's important to say. But Donald Trump is giving a press conference as we speak, and I've come in, and he is very firmly put it on the shoulders of the previous administration. He has accused them of lowering the standards for those who work in the FAA, focusing on air traffic controllers in particular, who have to be at the top of their game. It's a really incredibly difficult job to do. And that seems to be the initial playbook. It's obviously awful what has happened. And even if he does blame what happened before, it's now on his administration to come and clean it up. So Americans will be looking to see that commander-in-chief level, that level of leadership from him, from his new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and from the Secretary of Transportation, Duffy. Regardless of what has happened before, it's now up to them to kind of clean up and show that there's real leadership in charge. So it's a fast-moving story. We'll see how things develop over the next few days, but it's a real big challenge.
Yeah, between both the commercial flight and the military helicopter, we're looking at probably 67 victims of this crash. And no matter what Trump has said in this perhaps questionable political gamesmanship press conference, we did see Sean Duffy hours after being confirmed as Transportation Secretary. He was there well past midnight to give a press conference with Muriel Bowser this on Thursday morning. Pete Hegseth filming a video from his office showing it's very different and much more accessible than the Biden administration.
Absolutely. I mean, we wrote about it at the time when he was nominating Hegseth and Duffy in particular, that he seems to have prioritized good communicators. They both have a career on Fox News. They're very savvy on the television. They know how to talk to a camera. And one could argue that's just optics, okay? But optics matter, and communication matters. And I think what I found particularly interesting about Hegseth was him filming from his office, sleeves rolled up, coffee cup on on his desk. He seemed engaged. He was hard at work. It could all be a sleight of hand. I don't think it was. I think I'll take him at face value. I think he was absolutely, he already looks like he's kind of aged years in the job. But you never saw that with his predecessor, Lloyd Austin. Lloyd Austin was famously camera shy. He didn't tell anybody when he went in for surgery.
And he was under anesthesia during that time.
Exactly. And I think it's just a reminder that this particular administration is going to maybe over-communicate, and you might not like what they have to say, but they want to project that level of leadership and the fact that and showing that they're in charge. I thought it was really impressive that Duffy, his first day on the job, let us remember, he only got sworn in yesterday. He said he was at the FAA late last night when this was happening. And okay, it's DC, we're right on the doorstep, but can you compare that to what happened in East Palestine, for example? They just were not there. And I think it's a refreshing change of pace.
Yeah. And if you're a federal official, you can fly commercial if you need, but if there's urgent reason for the transportation secretary to make it to East Palestine, which maybe isn't as close to a major airport, they have ways of getting on a military plane that's heading in that direction, it's not like you and I having to scroll through flight scanner and figure out prices.
Yeah.
But it's the exact opposite form of this communication, of this very, one-to-one, almost fireside chat, FDR level of transparency.
For sure.
Are the Democrats who have been so stage managed to the point where is there any authenticity to them complaining about egg prices haven't gone down?
That's huge.
Or is it just like them fielding the term weird to describe J.D. Vance because they all need one talking point?
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? I mean, I think Kamala Harris during the election, that was a big problem for her, that she was seen as inauthentic, as were a lot of members of the Biden administration. And yeah, the egg thing is a real... I think it's a real problem for them because it shows that they're scrambling, pardon the pun, to find a message that kind of sticks on blaming the Trump administration for stuff. It's ridiculous to say that Donald Trump is responsible for egg prices going up when he was in office for something like 8 days.
Yeah.
They need to give him a little bit of time here
Yeah.
to come in. And bird flu has been a serious issue for a couple of years now, and no one's been talking about it, and all of a sudden here's this big problem. I don't doubt that the rising grocery prices are a serious issue, but you got to give the administration some time to get their feet under the table and make this problem go away and fix it. So I think it's incredibly disingenuous. And we talked about them holding a press conference the other day for the January 6th pardons. That was about a week after it happened. Such is the nature of the news cycle under Trump. If you don't comment immediately, and if you don't kind of jump on it immediately, everyone's going to be like, well, that was ages ago. Why are we talking about that now? It shows that they're flat-footed. It shows that they're completely leaderless, and it shows that they're totally listless right now.
And beyond, so we know they don't have an affirmative message. Like, that much has been obvious, and it was part of the reason why Kamala Harris was such a empty vessel of a candidate, right? But unlike 2017, where everything was resist this, resist that, P-word hat, like there was such an aesthetic, there was a language, there was a fluency behind what the resistance was. And there were different ideological factions of it, because you soon see Ilhan Omar, AOC, these young, telegenic extremists who can put a pretty face on socialism. I don't even know what the resistance message is now, because looking at these confirmation hearings, I'm thinking someone like RFK Jr. could be a slam dunk. There's plenty to criticize legitimately, let's say a Kash Patel or a Tulsi Gabbard. And I just don't see what the message is that they have.
No, there's not. And I think that's the problem. That there's no kind of unified message right now. They know that shouting up and down about Donald Trump being a fascist just simply hasn't worked. They're still kind of stuck in reverse in the past on that. And probably doesn't help, again, talking about optics, from an optics standpoint, that it's the Senate that is doing these confirmation hearings, and the Senate tends to be a little bit older, a little bit more reserved, maybe, and maybe it just feels that their messages aren't quite landing in the way that maybe some of the younger, maybe more social media tech savvy members of the House might. I don't know if that is a genuine issue or not, but again, also Trump has kind of baked in for years that the establishment is out to get me, and they're out to get you by extension. And when you see Democratic senators go after his more controversial picks like RFK or Tulsi Gabbard, there's that baked in mentality of like, oh well, this is just the deep state out to ruin Trump and ruin his message and his mandate. So yeah, look, they're going to have to figure it out quickly, because right now it's not particularly impressive.
No, and especially when you've been using the same three talking points for literally 8 years: Russia, abortion, and democracy.
Exactly.
And frankly, the polling doesn't look that great for Democrats on any of those.
No, I think they're at their lowest level for years now, right? They're about 22% approval rating or something like that.
Yeah, it's not a very popular time in the aftermath of Brat Summer. Chris, thank you so much. To read more of Chris's analysis and the rest of the newsroom here at the Washington Examiner, go to thewashingtonexaminer.com. We will see you next week.